Yes.
One about this meeting this morning, and then we could look at tomorrow's TNT. I know you have some ideas about downtown LRT.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
So this morning, what's the idea of coming up with prioritized lists when we don't have any money to do anything?
You never know when money will come. And in fact, there's a lot of talk with other orders of government over whether it's time to do a 2008, 2009 style stimulus program. And so I thought it was important for us to see if we had projects that were quote unquote shovel ready, that could meet different criteria for potential different programs. Now, what are the odds we'll actually get any new money? Not very high, but I want to be ready.
Now, as Councillor Chabot said, there's one big ticket item we could do potentially if we have that much money, or we could do a bunch of smaller items. What's the thought of the committee on how do you pick and choose from the prioritized list?
Well, making this list was precisely so that administration could give us their best recommendations on what will have the most impact. So for example, did they want to do a lot of work on rehabilitation of existing rec facilities, or do we want to finally build our first indoor field house, which is the biggest gap we have in terms of recreation facilities in the city? And they said go with the field house. So again, it's a bit of an academic issue. If money comes up, then council will probably have a big debate about where to spend it, but it's very helpful to have this as a starting point.
So a lot of that debate will be directed by how much money.
Precisely. How much money? What are the criteria? How quickly do you have to get going? How many jobs need to be created? Things like that.
So in terms of numbers of jobs, the field house wins it, right?
It sure does. Well, no, I think the Southeast Transitway wins it, but it's also a lot of money. So these are the things we balance off.
Speaking of, if we get a cancer center at the South Hospital, do we then say to the province, can we have some more money so we can complete that transitway as far as Seaton?
I certainly would make that argument, yes. Seaton is a good location for road access. It is not currently a good location for transit access, but of course, they would have a station on the future Southeast LRT as well as on the Setway. So for the long run, the transit access to that station would be, to that hospital would be very, very good. So it would be a great argument to make to the province to say, look, you're saving a ton of money on building the cancer hospital. How about you spend some of those savings on getting people there?
Didn't you just defeat the purpose for them?
Not as much. It won't be that much money, depending on what the savings are anyway.
Now, and you'd be talking about the transitway being extended. You're not talking about going LRT on Southeast, are you?
If they've got that kind of money, we can start building the Southeast LRT right away. That is a $3 billion plus project. I doubt that there'll be funding for that soon, but let's get that transitway in.
Mayors can dream.
Mayors can dream.
Tomorrow, at the committee, Transportation and Transit, we'll be talking about the different options for the Green Line getting through downtown. Do you have a preference?
I'm not a big fan of option A. It has a very long travel time. That's the one that requires the trains to go over the Center Street Bridge. It has a very long travel time, and it takes out lanes of traffic in a city that's growing on a river crossings. We don't have that many river crossings. So it would take something to convince me to do option A. Among the others, I'm intrigued by option C, which is the above ground version. I think we could do something quite neat about tying it into the plus 15s, and it saves a ton of time for commuters. Option D is the best option, which is the underground from basically the railway tracks south of downtown to 24th Avenue North. That is by far the best option. It's the most expensive, but it's not unbelievably more expensive than the other ones. You know, it's a difference of about $400 or $500 million, not $1 billion, which is still a lot of money. So council will have to grapple with that. Again, we don't have the money today, but it's helpful for us to think hard about what we would like to build once we get the money.
You talk about the plus 15s. Well, the report calls for this elevated guideway to go above plus 15s, so your third, fourth story height. Is that workable, do you think?
The engineers say it's workable. One question that I would have as we get into more detailed design stages, can you actually do it at the plus 15 level and use the plus 15s as the stations? I don't know the answer. I'm dreaming a little bit. But certainly there are other cities that have managed elevated guideways. We have one at St. Alta Station, so we'd figure out how to do that.
I think that's a better option. If you can bring it down at least so it's just above the street as opposed to up to 3 or 4 stories.
You know, it goes both ways, because if it's much higher up, it has less impact on the light and the shadowing versus if it was lower down. So there's a whole bunch of different debates that you could have about that.
Have you been singing those Simpsons monorail?
Monorail would be lovely.